Hey Internet, it's RJ. Welcome back. Thanks for tuning into the show today. And of course, Happy New Year to you, because if you're watching this, we've just really recently crossed into 2026, which means it's time to figure out what is the strategy, what is the game plan for 2026 credit cards. We'll also talk a little bit bank promotions, of course, to maximize earnings and gold plate that credit card setup. So of course, if that sounds interesting to you, then go ahead, press the subscribe button, and let's get to work. Now, on some level, these videos, I get it. It's like, just list out the cards that you want to get. But I think there's going to be a little bit more nuance to the strategy this year, given how we ended 2025. And then by that, I mean, if we run down through it, I think it's fair to say that, these things go in cycles. Some years, banks are willing to look the other way, relax rules, and take applications. In other years, they're more on guard for unprofitable or risky customers, which we would fall into. And that's kind of where we ended, and I think that kind of helps guide the strategy a little bit. So for me, obviously being a cashback person, the goal is always to get $5,000 from credit cards a year, though I think I need to raise that number up. $10,000 from bank promotions and $10,000 for referrals. So we'll take credit cards first, because this is like a credit card focused channel run on the bank and profitablecontent.com being the bank promotion focused pages. So anyhow, in 2024, I went on a pretty good run, and I signed up for a bunch of cards, nonsense cards, but anything I could get my hands on to grab money, and I finished about $9,000 that year in credit cards between intro offers and reward points, which means I didn't really get approved for just about anything this year. I ended up getting 3 cards. One was a key bank card for $200 with a business checking account, so pretty easy. They were just giving you the card if you open all the other products. Ramp, which was fun one and turned into a fight I made a whole video on, but it was a unicorn offer, $1,500 for $1,000 in spend. And the other one was another Bank of America unlimited cash, which I wasn't really planning on applying for, but to replace the outgoing Smartly card. And I say that to set up the vitals. At the time of taping, I'm about 7 to 12 new applications in the past 12 months. I think I'll be in a really good application ready status come July. I should be down to like 2 and 12 or something like that. And it does matter because all the big banks seem to care about 524 for the moment. So I won't be doing anything in the beginning of the year. I'll be relying on the cards that I do have. But that's really the question, is that on one hand, once you are ready to go, do you either try to grab as much money as you can through high intro offers, or do you do what I call gold plating the credit card setup? It's kind of one and the same, except for when you're playing cashback, the most useful cards seem to be the free cards, which is fantastic for me, but those come with lower intro offers. Of course, the cards that are, yes, less useful, platinums, ink, or sapphires, things like that, generally come with higher intro offers. And I think I've landed on, I think the banks have actually sort of made the decision for me to pursue gold plating the credit card setup. Because the biggest one is Chase, right? Now, I've ran through the Chase lineup probably twice now, on the personal and the business side. But now we know that Chase has instituted pop-up jail. They have instituted lifetime language, which means I'm not going to be able to get ink cards anymore. At one point, I had all 4 of them. I still hold an Ink Cash and an Ink Unlimited. And, the Ink Unlimited has only been used for referrals. The Ink Cash, I put like $125 a month on it for phone and internet. They're not going to give me another card there. I'm going to get pop-up jail. I might be able to get the Sapphire Reserve business, but we'll see. And really, Chase is the ones who offer the higher intro offers, and then you would kind of want to spend your time hitting the ink cards again, which would delay getting any new cards at all. So when I say Chase is now implementing these rules that they used to look away from, because previously, years ago, you couldn't have an Ink Cash if you were applying for another Ink Cash, and they removed that rule for like 2 years, and then they put it back. So that's when I say it's kind of goes in cycles. That's a perfect example of what I mean. So if it makes sense to get high intro offers, I think I will if there's like a product change strategy. But I think the first foremost thing I will, as I said, wait till July, which is helpful because that's when property taxes come due. And for me, unfortunately, that's quite a bit of money. Now, yes, I'm technically reimbursed from those through monthly rent payments that I receive, but still, last year the summer taxes on one house was $8,500 and the other one was like $3,200. This house still being in escrow, but Still, the point is, got a lot of spend because right around then, homeowners insurance for them comes up and all that. So spend won't really be an issue. However, I think if I go back to gold plating the setup, well, there's two cards that I've ranted about. If you watched any number of the shows, then you know my credit card setup is weakest in travel. I do want to get the autographed Journey card. At least it has a decent intro offer of $600. I think I will pick that one. Hopefully, well, that'll be my first one. And the other one might surprise you a little bit, but I have decided that I do need to get another Cash Plus card. I have the Smartly card, but I called US Bank once a month to see if I can product change from the Smartly card to the Cash Plus, and they just keep saying no. So if I'm going to keep calling once a month, it takes like 5 minutes. It's not a big deal. But if I make it to like July and they still haven't allowed me to product change, then I will just apply for another one. I don't want to apply for another one because, again, it's such a low intro offer. However, when I went back and looked at it, it does make sense to have 5% back on utilities because you might not know this, but if you do rental houses around here, you cannot take water out of your name because it's a lienable utility. Which means if you don't pay, they slap a lien on your house. They used to shut off water, but then everyone cried, and for some reason we had sympathy for people who weren't paying their bills. So anyhow, I have more utility bills than you would think. I pay them, and then I send a picture of the bill and a Venmo request to the person, and that's how I'm reimbursed for that. So it's fine, but because of that, I've also learned, being a single person, my water bill is not that high, but families of four, their water bill is high. It's quarterly, right? So you're talking about $350, $400 a quarter, for both spots, their families there. So I do a decent amount in utilities, and then the gym membership is only $30 a month. But again, we're talking about gold plating the setup at this point. So those are the two cards for sure that I want, again, if I can't product change. Now, after that, there's not really cards that I need. I mean, those are the two gaping holes in the setup. Everything else would be more, do you want to try to get a City Strata card with the goal of getting a high intro offer and then product change to another custom cash in a year's time. But I don't really have a need for another custom cash right now, but more is always better. You could say the same thing with Bank of America and their customized cash card. I don't really have a need for a fourth one, but can you really ever have too many 5% cards? And you can start giving them designations. Like, it would be nice to have one labeled home improvement. I don't use that all the time. Or just have enough that you can quickly swap in, because Bank of America does allow you to swap in, change the category once a month. The other thing so as far as new cards, I guess those would be the two new cards. And then after that, we probably will switch back to, can I get some high intro offers? The other thing in credit card space is I really want to find a use for these Freedom cards. I have 5 Freedom cards and a Discover card. So basically 6 cards with 5% that I don't use at all anymore. I mean, you can see them, the Freedom, they're all up here, the Freedom cards, and then the Discover ones down there. I don't really have a need, the category, which is a good thing because it means I've gotten so many 5% cards that I'm covered. I don't often need. On occasion, they'll come in handy. But I would like to figure out a use for them. And the obvious use has always been where you go buy the Visa reloads, and then liquidating them is always the tough part because you don't even want to hold on to them. So Visa reloads are usually $5 activation fee. So if you bought 3 of them at $500 each to get the $1,500, normally at 5%, you can earn $75, knock off the $15, you're down to like $60. You could use them to pay said property taxes if you weren't going after intro offers. The problem still remains is to max them out every quarter. That's still a while to hold on to them or pay prematurely. And then they do charge a processing fee of 2.8%. So now you've paid $5 to activate it, plus you're paying a processing fee. I think we almost end up at diminishing returns with that strategy. So you really need a good one, easy, reliable way to liquidate them. There have been ways in the past, but sometimes you do it too much and they'll shut you down. So if anyone knows or has a way that they're doing it, feel free to let me know. But I feel like that's going into 2026. That's like a big missed opportunity to have all these cards sitting here that just go unused. And at least for the time being, Chase doesn't seem to care still if you're buying these gift cards. Because then if you found a way to do it, then you could still roll in the ink cash. And then it also opens up some more moves. Like there's still the PayPal debit card that I have that I don't really use for anything. However, if you can find a solid gift card strategy, you could swap in the PayPal gift card for gas, frees up a custom cash that I'm currently using for gas, and then you can get a lot more that way. Because to put a bow on the credit card section, back to the beginning, I really think we're going to have to go down to a path of, do you want to optimize money or intro offers or solidify your setup? I think learning how to maximize your existing setup or building that out is going to be more important in the short to medium term, next year or two, as these companies don't necessarily want to take on additional risk or unprofitable customers. We're going to have to maximize what we have. And since I have all these, that's why I want to maximize it, because I'd like to move that $5,000 a year goal from credit cards up to at least $7,500. I think it would be a nice goal to say, hey, every year, at least going into 2026, the IRA contribution limit is $7,500. So it'd be cool to say, hey, I funded it all by what I made in credit cards. Plus, I think it continues to make it a little bit tougher, and it does force me to find a solution to all these 5% cards that I'm not currently using, which again is a good thing, but if you could max it out, easily liquidate them, I think you'd be really doing some damage. So not a crazy 2026 strategy, really. I mean, again, it comes down to the journey to shore up travel, cash plus to shore up utilities and gym, and then of course more Bank of American City cards are gold plating, if nothing else, if no other new card comes up. As far as bank promotions go, well, you really kind of got to see what the game gives us. Again, the goal there is $10,000. That one's going to be significantly tougher this year. I mean, right off the jump, Huntington has added language that basically pushes their bonuses out to every 2 years. In between business and personal and Huntington, that's $1,600, which is 16% of my $10,000 number every year. So it's getting tougher. I think the deal with bank promotions is probably going to be focused on the larger dollar amount ones. Now, they all end up making money, especially in times where rates go down. We've seen a few cuts, but generally the lower paying out ones generally percentage wise make the most sense mathematically. But even on the larger ones, it's not like you're losing money by doing those, especially if you don't have anything else to do with that money that you're tying up with the bank. So that's probably the focus. Go after the larger ones. Also, I think we'll have to try to tie them into getting credit cards along the way when it makes sense. So like the Chase, Chase business account, I'll be eligible for that because I doubt they're going to give me a Sapphire business easily. Well, since that bonus requires $25,000 over there at the top tier, over the 750 tier, do that and then time it around when you want to apply for the Chase Sapphire business. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I tried this very thing last year with Wells Fargo on the Journey, didn't work, but it's worth it to try to tie in. Other than that, there's not really. I think with bank promotions is go after the bigger ones that are usually on the deposit, the savings side. And then I think it's kind of lay out and be a little bit patient. If there's a higher offer or out there, a lot of these companies, like Wells Fargo, for example, it's $325, but they've gone up to $400. So maybe you try to wait it out and see if you can get the $400, right? Now, sometimes who knows, right? I did US Bank Business last year and I did it at $1,000, which was the highest one we've seen. And then a few months later, they came out with $1,500. So you're never really going to be able to hit it right on the money. We're not all the time, but I think that's kind of the play. Again, it's a long year. It can feel like you don't have a ton to apply for or anything like stuff like that, but when it gets harder, because we still don't have as many options. Bank accounts are a little bit uptight. Again, we talked about Huntington, Fifth Third denied in branch and online. That's a big one. The only reason I got into Key Bank is because they had a business checking account as well, which didn't let me open up the personal one. But the bank accounts, we generally see stuff come up every so often that surprises us. TBK Bank going national, OKX, which brings me into the last point of this is I think we'll have to continue to incorporate those crypto offers, which could go for credit cards as well. But, the crypto guys, they seem to at least have money to spend. And OKX was a saving grace last year to get to the referral number and the bank promotion number as well. So we'll keep an eye on, I'll say, the alternative forms as well. But there's less strategy there. There's more so really you take what the game gives you on the bank promotion side. Again, that's what the $10,000 goal is for, because it makes you have to go and push to get the number. So overall, I don't necessarily think this is a crazy strategy. It's more of gold plating because, again, it's going to matter the longer we go and figuring out how to best use what I have to to get to at least move the number up from $5,000 a year to $7,500 for 2026, which I think should be doable, especially if I can find out how to use those. So really that's the strategy. Again, part of the fun of it is seeing what else comes up, what else comes out, because we just don't know. So anyways, let me know what you think about that. What is your game plan, especially you cashback guys? But I'll entertain some travelers out there as well. See how you're traveling for less or traveling for free, even better. But of course, if you like this one, drop me a thumbs up down below. If you found it particularly interesting, consider subscribing to the channel. So we're posting content just like this every single week. Of course, right back here every Sunday with all the news you can use in the week that was in credit and finance. Of course, every single day over on profitablecontent.com, which is, of course, the channel's blog. We have the latest news stories, we have bank promotions, and credit card offers if you want to get started on your 2026 in the most profitable way. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. I will talk to you very soon in the next one.